Chosen Family by thwip Trickster88. They've upgraded to one phone call a month, which Harry picks up collect from Peter. He would absolutely take calls from him more often. He feels it's the least his father owes him at this point, but Peter is infuriatingly selfless. He worries over the cost far more than Harry does, not wanting to be a burden. Peter has never been a burden, but no matter how many times Harry tells him this, he's not sure Peter believes him. Peter's talking animatedly about the science fair project he's working on with Ned, voice slightly tiny on the other end of the line. Harry closes his eyes, imagining Peter sprawled out on his bed with the phone against his ear. He can almost pretend he's there with him, if he tries hard enough. "Did you fall asleep on me over there, Osborne?" Peter teases, and Harry snorts, shaking his head, though Peter can't see him. "Have I finally bored you to death talking about science?" "You're never boring." Peter laughs at that, the clearest sound to come through the connection, and Harry can't help but smile. Peter was like that. You couldn't be anything but happy around him. "You haven't sent me any drawings recently." It's not a question, not an accusation, but there's something in Peter's voice that gets Harry to open his eyes. Peter lets the sentence hang in the air for a second before continuing. "Did you run out of ways for our brave heroes to rescue Lady May?" Harry's gaze darts to the replacement sketchpad he'd bought on their weekly shopping trip 2 months ago, tucked on his bookshelf. He thinks of the doodles there, and the fact that he put the pad over on the shelf for good when he realized he was sketching Peter's eyes over and over again, never quite getting the right shade of brown. He doesn't know why he doesn't tell Peter, except that he does know. He thinks of the sketchpad, of the sheaf of letters he saved in a box under his bed, of the way Peter holds his hand, the way Peter has always held his hand. Harry would never risk that for anything, not a single thing. "Sorry, Pete." Harry spreads his fingers on his bedspread, stark white against the dark blue cover. Norman's sneer pokes sharply at him, even through memories. "I don't draw much anymore." It's not even a lie. Not really. If he's lying to himself, that's his business, isn't it? "Hey, Har, it's me, Peter Parker. I hope you're doing okay. I know I sound like death. Ugh, please ignore it. I have, like, the flu or something, even though I got my flu shot. Sorry. Though I was gonna sneeze, didn't happen. Blah. I feel like death. Anyway, call me when you get a chance. I have to tell you, the craziest thing happened, dude. Alright, I'll stop rambling, but call me. Bye." Harry looks at the clock. Peter left the message for him while he was asleep, but it's 8 a.m. now, which means it's 3 a.m. Peter's time. Harry thinks to text him, but he doesn't. Peter's sick. He needs to sleep. He'll call him later, after class. And he does call. Peter just doesn't answer. Harry calls 2 more times, an hour apart. He tells himself that Peter's phone is off, that it ran out of battery, that he's busy with some project or decathlon or none of it helps. He knows something is wrong. He knows it in his bones, in the awful nagging feeling deep in his gut. Even if Peter were mad at him, he'd never freeze him out like this. Peter doesn't call him back for 3 days. By the 3rd day, Harry calls Bernard and practically begs him to check on the Parkers. No, not even practically, he does beg, and eventually Bernard acquiesces, with the careful admonition to calm down, Harry. But he can't. Something is wrong. When his phone finally does light up with Peter's goofy contact picture, Harry has just enough time to be relieved before Peter says the words that make him wish he'd never answered. "Ben's dead," Peter sniffs, and the hoarseness in his voice isn't from illness. Harry's stomach drops, down, down, down. "He's dead. Harry, he... I'm sorry," Harry says quickly, because he doesn't want to make Peter say it. Later, he's told, 2 bullets to the abdomen. Ben bled out under Peter's shaking hands. Peter wanted to call him, but he'd screamed himself into silence, hence the 3-day delay. Harry had to agree. This wasn't the kind of news to get over text. "I'm so sorry, Pete." They don't say anything else. What is there to say? It's unfair. It's cruel. The world is a terrible, terrible place, and Harry has never been religious, but he thinks God must have gotten a wire crossed somewhere if taking a man like Ben away from someone like Peter makes any kind of sense. Peter sniffles on the other end of the line, while they sit there in silence together. The sniffles turn into quiet sobs, and Harry clutches the phone to his ear, ignoring the way his hands shake. He thinks of Ben. Sunny, steady Ben, the man who always brought his wife flowers and taught Harry how to fly, and he has to blink away his own tears. "It's my fault," Peter whispers, so softly Harry almost doesn't hear him. He's quick to correct him, to tell him that it wasn't your fault, Pete, and how could you have known? Harry generally does not lie to Peter. For the first time, though, Harry's left wondering whether or not Peter really believed him. Things are different after Ben. Harry isn't surprised, and he tries not to take it personally. It's difficult, though, when the periods of not hearing from Peter start to grow longer, their phone calls more infrequent. Some of it is grief, and some of it is this new stock internship that's taking up so much of his time. Peter calls Harry during the lunch hour from the gym in Berlin, explaining everything about some internship conference he's been whisked away to, before quickly and excitedly giving Harry the full play-by-play of the street performance. He doesn't get many details about it, not that he expected to. If his father was stringent about what Oscorp details he was not allowed to share, Harry could only assume Stark Industries was even worse. But Peter seems excited. "It's Tony Stark, Harry. He was in my living room." And Harry is so happy for him. If anyone deserves something good for once, it's Peter. Especially when every other day New York seemed to be falling apart. The Staten Island ferry splits in half just as Harry is getting out of history class, and not even a month later, a plane takes out most of Coney Island while he's sleeping. Peter brushes it off when they talk about it, so it can't be affecting him too much. Though Harry thinks Peter's totally nuts when he doesn't even want to talk about the fact that the vulture guy turned out to be the parent of a senior at Midtown. But sometimes they go weeks now, in between updates. Harry vents to Bernard, and maybe he sounds more desperate than he thinks he does, because he can practically hear the hesitation in the butler's silence. What is it?" "Sometimes," Bernard said slowly, gently, and the tone alone is enough to make Harry's heart squeeze uncomfortably in his chest. "People grow apart, Harry." It's the worst thing he could have said, because it makes sense. What did he expect? That they'd be friends forever, slaying dragons and being dumb kids? People grow up, and the two of them are no different. At some point, their lives had to diverge. He just didn't expect it to happen this soon. If Harry can't really imagine his life without Peter, well, that's on him, isn't it?